open the beer. Can't even open a beer. Use my hand like a normal person. I'm a normal person. There you go. God bless you. Hope you're having a brilliant weekend. It's Sunday and I'm loving life. We've had a cyclone fly into the coast. Not much happened in Ipswich or Brisbane, to be honest. The fearmongers were out in full force. All the, they were freaking out. They were worried. Krista Fuller, Premier, who's way better than the last Premier, but he's a bit of a, they're kind of like stress heads, you know what I mean? I wonder if I should do a mic check. I'm late for we're late for our own stream. We don't want that mic. Doesn't look like this mic's working. I'm sure you can hear me anyway because it's going through me thing. Oh, yeah, that mic just turned on. It's giving me green. And we're late, like typical. We're late to our own stream. Is that even better? Does that work now? Is that microphone? I don't think that's the name of this mic. But anyway, we'll go with it. If you're in the live comment chat, we are taking Q&A, questions we'll answer, whatever. If you want to come on, that's the restream link. We're live to Rumble tonight, everyone, which is awesome because I started using Restream instead of StreamYard because StreamYard was getting real expensive, and I sort of was stuff that, you know how it is. They kind of almost doubled the price. So we started using Restream, and then I couldn't get Rumble to work. So bang, there you are. It says we're live with Restream March 9. I didn't even give it a name. How slack is that? That shows you how fucking slack I am. What a goop. Yeah, so I went anyway. We had a cyclone fly through bloody Brisbane City, Ipswich. We've had a little bit of rain. The hype was for real. We knocked off work on, I think it was midday Wednesday. So I'm I had to update a drain. I was digging a trench. I put a new drain in. We went and sandbagged and made 30 sandbags. Put a drain in on me roof, screwing in bloody tech screws, fixing I've always had to put new screws in the roof, but I've been all these jobs you put off. So I work like an animal. And then Friday, I went to Church and State conference, even though apparently we weren't supposed to go anywhere. And the Premier and the mainstream media was like, don't go anywhere. The fear was going out. You know what I mean? They sell fear. They love fear because fear will give you it's an easy sell. So, we sell the fear like it's going out of fashion. And where is this microphone plugged into? It's sort of funny. There it is. It's plugged in there. Okay. It's not coming up on my thing. Anyway, the fear is for real, but we made it to Church and State conference and it was sick. It was awesome. Friday, I blew it off early. My kids were sort of, they've got cabin fever. They're locked in the house with the rain and don't go outside. And what do you do? But yeah, Friday we chilled at Church and State conference. I came home early. Saturday I was there for most of the day. And Church and State conference, it was the airport shut down. 90% of the speakers couldn't make it. And Dave Pello from Church and State, he nailed it. He pulled it off. They had all the speakers Skyped in. So awesome high quality speakers. Saturday morning was who's the Queensland Senator, Matt Canavan, talking policies on how we could increase the nation's population through families having more children. You know, we need to grow the nation organically through families, not because like having a growth model is good. It's good to have like if our nation was like, oh, people are, imagine if they were like, you know how we've just let in an F ton of immigrants and everyone's like, holy it's destroyed the country, house prices through the roof. I feel like my workmates, young bogans, and even the dudes on visas, I'm like, you're a forever renter now, unless you get a side hustle and you grind, and you got to be like onto it to get into the housing market now. It's way more harder. So with stuff so that's because of mass migration, supply and demand, over regulation. There's so many problems. And now I'm like zero immigration, deregulate housing, get rid of all the green tape, number one. But imagine like Matt Canavan at Church and State, he's talking about how we could have population growth through having children, families. I've got 2 boys and I've got a little girl on the way with 13 weeks pregnant. Bang. Be deportations too, but yeah. It has to happen. Like all these people on visas. Albo just handed out all these visas willy-nilly. It was the stupidest thing he could have ever done. And, you know, his Albo and the left, they've just absolute failures. The Liberal National Party, absolute failures. Who do they govern for? Who are they writing policies for? Not for you and I. They're absolute losers when it comes to, I think, like One Nation's policy and the Libertarians' policy is kind of like something around 70,000, which would get back to pre-John Howard. And it would work out to be like a net zero immigration. So you wouldn't ever go up in population. But like the actual fact is we're aborting 100,000 babies a year. Old people die of old age and people die, and we're not creating enough babies. The reason why they would say, oh, 70,000 people should immigrate under net zero is that it would take 70. We're not having enough babies. We're not having enough babies. Like if we just said we're going to, you don't have to have you don't have to have your baby. The women, the feminists are like, if I don't want to have this baby, I shouldn't have to have it. Yeah, okay, sweet. We're going to build the world state-of-the-art adoption agencies, and we're going to build state-of-the-art awesome orphanages, and we're going to save the 100,000 babies from getting aborted, and you don't have to have the baby. And we want families to. Matt Canavan at Church and State spoke about a few ideas about how we could increase population, like incentivize it. It's pretty much like income splitting. If the mum wants to stay at home, we would like classify the mum and children as dependents, and the father would get a massive tax break. And apparently this was a thing. Like people were speaking about this to me. They were like, when we had kids, we used to get a tax break because I was a stay-at-home mother. That's what this old lady said to me. Older lady, sweet lady, had like 4 kids, lived out west on a farm, like a small farm, I was inspired by them. Matt Canavan did a great job. He had like one of his plans was like $100,000 low interest loan. You have your first kid, 25 grand gets wiped off that 100 grand loan. Have your second kid, another 25 grand gets wiped off the loan. Have your third kid, the 100 grand's wiped off completely. And the idea was the money would be lent so you could to buy a property. And he was like, we need to get people into property as soon as possible because that's an environment for having children, and then with a tax cut for so mum can be at home with the kids. I was like, sick. So he's an Australian senator. like I'm a member of the Libertarian Party, and it's sort of like very similar to what the Libertarian Party policy is. I'm just a member of the Libertarian Party mainly because One Nation didn't have branches, and I think Family First has started. They might be more national. They might be more libertarians and national libertarians. Family First is conservative nationalist or nationalist conservatives. One Nation would be probably a nationalist party. They've kind of watered down a little bit of our policies, but I love Malcolm Roberts. He's a good mate of mine. And the first person I told that I was like, I'm joining the Libertarians was Malcolm. And I was like, dude, I became politically interested because of Malcolm. I volunteered for him, did heaps of stuff. I'll read your comments. If you drop a comment, I'll read it. Why is it disastrous if the economy declines, though? Who cares if the population declines too, 20 million or something? Yeah, and like, do you know, like the economy, like think about this. If the libertarians came into power, or someone of a similar mindset, and any of the freedom parties are pretty good and very, very similar, and probably would any of them would do a great job. So preference, we all have a different preference. Who would put number one? Yeah, I'd say Libertarian number one. Jim Wilmot, number one senator for Queensland. He's a legend. Lachlan Wade, number two. You might go, and then I'd say Malcolm Roberts. Then you've got, Family First will have guys, and Gerard Rennick and blah, blah, blah. Whatever. What am I getting at? So what I'm getting at, say tomorrow there's like Optus has a new mobile phone plan on offer, and I go, oh crap, right now I think I'm paying $50 a month. If a new company comes online and they say, well, we've got an offer, $35, the same amount of data, same, it's like if you get better for less money, right? So if everyone in Australia went over to this new company and then we looked at the GDP, national GDP, and we said, oh my God, there's a 20% less spent on telco providers, the internet and mobile phone providers. Oh, a 20% deduction in spending. It's like a recession for the internet providing companies. You're like, no. Someone's just found a better, cheaper, more efficient way, right? So like we could get into government. We get into government, we go through it all, and we're like, yo, we can become so much more efficient and effective that you would spend less money. If we get bargains on everything, if we get good deals and, essentially you could get better deals for less. That's what we should be aiming at. We should be aiming at across the board, every single contract, every deal. We want more for less. That's what we should be getting. That's what we should be after. Every year we're getting less and we're paying more. So we're being fucked. And then they go, the GDP is increasing. It's like, yeah, we're spending more money in the economy because we're getting worse and worse deals. So I think if someone came in, we would want to see the GDP decrease, and we would say that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Imagine if they said, infrastructure for Australia, we've been spending, I don't know, let's say $50 billion a year. Let's call it $25 billion a year. I don't know the number. Let's just make it up. We're spending $25 billion a year on construction to build, there's congestion on the roads, and every year you need to update new bridges, new overpasses, new tunnels, whatever. And if we said, well, in actual fact, we've come up with some new breakthrough technology and efficiency for infrastructure companies, and there's new techniques, and actually we're predicting next year, instead of $25 billion, it's only going to be $18 billion. We go, holy shit. We've saved 15%. because of efficiency, because they're breakthroughs and new efficiency, new technologies, better structuring of these companies. You know what I mean? Like somehow we work out how to be more efficient with our labor. And you got guys, there's got to be a way. There has to be a way. And we could do it. And we could see a decline in GDP. We could, you know what I mean? It doesn't really make sense that it forever has to be going up and going up and going up. I think it would be good to see if we prioritized population growth through families, then you've got more consumers consuming, more mouths to feed. You know what I mean? And this is a good thing. Like, I'm not against growth, but I do want the kind of growth. I want the Anglo-Celtic people to grow. I want our people to grow. The whole world has been taken over by multiculturalism and Marxism or globalist Trotsky weirdos who seem to be racist. For some reason, Anglo-Celtic and European countries are the only countries that have to adopt multiculturalism. We didn't vote for it, and it hasn't worked. I don't know where it has worked. Look, I can get along. I go to church with a multiracial church. I voluntarily choose to do that. I work in a multi-ethnic work environment, and I get along fine with. I can get along fine with anyone. Let's be honest. And I don't believe in being a rude asshole to anyone. I don't believe in going after a certain racial demographic and rubbishing the living hell out of them. I think we're an Anglo-Celtic European nations and Anglo-Celtic nations. Why do we have to be the heroes of the world? Why do we have to fix all the world's problems? That's bullshit. Every country, all these people, I look at other races and people and I think they can do it. They're made in God's image. They're well equipped to have great nations, to live civilized. I believe they can. I don't think they're limited in any way. I don't think they are. So I don't understand where this concept comes that they don't need saving. They don't need our help. They're quite capable. I believe they can. You can always have friends and you can always help other countries. You know what I mean? And you can have mutual benefiting. You can be like, okay, we're really good and we're nailing irrigation and infrastructure, and there's things we're doing and through trade, and like we can work with other countries. We can work with other countries and we can help each other have that. Every country on earth could be a first world amazing country, right? We've been sold a lie. You don't have to hate anyone. You don't have to have any guilt complex. It doesn't have to be a savior complex. There doesn't have to be any of that. We can just we've been told how to think by weirdo, through the media who sells ads, who make money through ads. And it's all like fear and drummed up, and if it bleeds, it leads. It's like we've got like Eric Bischoff from WCW running all the news channels and the political parties, and they're like, frothing at the mouth. NS Germany had sick policies for incentivizing having children. Sweet. I think like we could probably look to any country. Matt Canavan looked at Hungary, has a heap of great policies. I did drop the link. Hopefully it's popped up. I could have a look on Rumble. I should look on Rumble. I'm not sure if you're watching on Rumble, so we haven't streamed on Rumble in effing for ages because Restream didn't. I'm using Restream now, and it wasn't letting us live stream to Rumble. So like now we're back on Rumble. It says 5 people are watching. G'day, Rumble. I'm going to keep an eye on the comment section. I can read out your comments if you comment on Rumble. There is a link there for anyone watching on YouTube, Rumble, or X. If you would like to jump on and say your piece, you're more than welcome to actually physically click on the link, and pretty much it's like Skype. I think you can turn off your camera and you can still talk if you want to do that. I don't care. It's all just having a beer, having a banter. It's Lent. Every Sunday for Lent, I'm breaking Lent and I'm enjoying a beer. So since Ash Wednesday last week, haven't been smoking or drinking or eating fast food or junk food or any of that. And I would have been working out and starting my workout schedule, but I had to fill my shed with all my toys and the kids' toys and playgrounds and all this jammed into my gym. Anyway, where are we? But yeah, I think what they were saying was Matt Canavan was saying Hungary has really good policies that they've implemented that's actually turned around the birth rate. It was one of the lowest birth rates in the world, and now they've got like it's catching up to, I think it's 2.2 per woman. You need to have a stable population. I think the goal should be natural population growth. I think that's better. That makes sense. I think like a biblical principle, God said, be fruitful and multiply. It's the first thing he said to us. And as a Christian, as a believer, I think like what an awesome, there's something to this. We have to take on this like ancient tradition, these words of wisdom from the past. And like, when you're multiplying, I think you're happy. When your business is going well, when you're in the gym and you're getting gains, when your relationship's moving forward, when you're having extra kids, when you're getting overtime, when you're getting good business deals, you're not depressed when you're multiplying. You're feeling good when you're multiplying. Often it's when you're like not multiplying, your brain sends you anxiety and depression signals. That's what they are. You're like, oh my God, the loser signals. I'm a fucking loser. That's what anxiety and depression is. If anyone, and like I've felt it too, because my body's sending me the signals to, you've got to work out how to multiply. And Australia is feeling the heat. That we're like, Australia is a nation in the West. Maybe we felt the hive mind subconsciously or consciously was feeling the calling to multiply, and they came up with it. It's all often like the cheap trick. You know what I mean? We often see in the Bible like the devil will use a substitute cheap trick to get you the multiplication we need. We did that. We used mass migration. It's not necessarily these people's fault when we issued the visas and we made the mistake. We made a mistake. It didn't work. It doesn't work. And we need to course correct. We go, oh shit, that didn't work. Sorry guys, it's not working. Let the visas run out. Let them return home. Sorry, no pathway to permanent resident. No pathway to citizenship. It's over. And then give an opportunity for people to remigrate back to Africa, back to the Middle East, back to wherever they came from. And you don't have to kick them out. Just incentivize them to go. You can sell your property. You can take the profit out of the country tax-free. There you go. And if they're a social welfare recipient and they're here and they're no benefit to our nation, or they're a criminal, man, it should just be and we're not doing it at the current. It's so stupid. Like, I was born in New Zealand. I'm Irish, Scottish, and English heritage, so Australia is easy for me. I came over when I was like a baby. I went back to New Zealand when I was 5 for maybe 5 years, 4.5 years. Did a bit of primary school in New Zealand. They called me the Aussie kid. I came back. It's very easy for Anglo-Celtic people globally to assimilate into our culture. Like, we're a part of the Anglosphere. So, I'd say South Africans, Australian, New Zealand, Canadians, English, even, and Americans who are Anglo-Celtic of heritage. We do have a super culture spanning the earth, the Anglosphere. So, yeah, all them kind of people, I would say if we're going to allow anyone to migrate, it would be them. It would be the South African farmers of European and Anglo-Celtic origin. They are very industrious, hardworking people. One of the first people I ever interviewed, if you've seen me, let me pull up. What have I got? I'm like watching myself. I've got my screen pulled up on X. I don't think I have, actually. We'll pull up my X screen. I found this dude this afternoon. Some super wog who's talking about the housing crisis and how we need to fix it and how we need to look after our standard of living and what are we doing? Super Mario. Thank you, Super Mario, for speaking some truth. Anyway, what I was getting at, where is mine? Look, this is the Banana Man, Matty J Stag. He's busy tonight. I don't know if his house is getting flooded. I don't think so. But anyway, when I go and interview people, 33 people watching on X. Thanks for watching. I posted Super Wog. We could watch Super Wog. Let's have a look. Let's give him a go.
1970s and 80s in Australia, the lifestyle was...
Is that coming through? Why isn't that coming through, mate? This dude grew up in Australia in the 70s and 80s, and the lifestyle was fucking good, right? It kind of sounds like a bit like a lisp, a bit gay.
I mean, you've seen the pictures of the 1970s and 80s in Australia. The lifestyle was so relaxed and great.
And it looks like it's fucked. You can go to my Twitter, whatever. Hopefully you follow me. And you can find that dude, that super wog. I would say follow him, give him a follow. Because, he's talking some common sense stuff. Essentially, all he says is he grew up in Australia in the 70s and 80s or some crap. And he's like, it was a effing good country. Maybe I'll just get out of I'm getting out of Twitter. I should be just focusing. I'm sorry. I'm floating away. Here we go. We'll get back in the comment section. Saw a clip of a guy from Sky News talking about replacement immigration. Yeah, you might be talking about at Church and State, there was Stephen Shavira, Dr. Stephen Shavira. He's often on Sky News, but it might have been another guy from Sky News you're talking about. Sky News should definitely be talking about replacement immigration. They should be talking about how it's a failure of mass migration or immigration. But yeah, it's like if Sky News is talking about it. Stephen Shavira spoke about it at Church and State. I posted a little clip from him today on my Twitter. I think it's done like 10K views. So Stephen Shavira, like he Skyped in because 90% of the people couldn't freaking fly in. The airport was shut in Brisbane for the fake cyclone. But it's a major vibe shift. Like, it is a vibe shift, and it's a good shift. We need to be honest. I think for a while there, like when I finished school, you kind of like none of us were politically interested. The country was fairly good. You could afford to buy a home. You could make an honest living. And there were immigrants. Immigrants, I think, were better situated that they could assimilate. and we've it hasn't worked. It didn't work, unfortunately. That's all we really need to know. What am I doing? I'm reading some of this. I could hear it. Yeah, sweet. And I'd fucking pulled the pin on that. The super wog. Luigi. Yeah, that was him. So you were talking about Steven Shavira, and that's good. Shavira is he is a professor at a Christian university in Sydney. And, church and state conference is like, so Tony Abbott was scheduled to be there. Alec Antic was scheduled to be there. Matt Canavan, all these people Skyped in and did their bit via Skype. But so you're talking like high caliber, conservative, liberal national politicians. You've got like all these Christian charities, colleges, Christian universities. You've got all these organizations and groups and people coming together under the banner of Church and State Conference, organized by Dave Pallo. And, I believe that there's been a massive vibe shift, like we're saying. There's been a massive vibe shift. And, I think we've all contributed because now, maybe because of X, we can openly and freely talk about things more. And it's helped. And then it probably gives a bit more confidence to guys like Steven Shavira to speak out. Or are we, who's leading the charge? I think the common people are leading the charge. And then it gives the confidence for probably the establishment or I can see where the Christians have the backbone and the convictions and have always, I believe, spoken about. I think Christians love Australia, want to see the best for Australia. So if you want the best for this country, we need to be honest about the failures of mass migration and multiculturalism. If we want to see Anglo-Celtic Australians and Aboriginals, if we want to be a strong and powerful nation that can influence our region and the world, we need to be a prosperous nation. So we need to give up on the things that aren't working. We need to say that doesn't work. We need to be honest about it. But people are coming together at church and state and kicking goals. I was impressed. A lot of Christians are race blind from my experience. And so when I became a Christian, I got invited to, it was like a Pentecostal church. It was called Garden City Church. And we voted and made it a Hillsong church, which it's like crazy, and Hillsong's like awesome. And the system tried to destroy Hillsong because it was getting too big, too powerful, too influential, too many. Every week, like thousands of people were becoming Christian in Australia. And then they really just wanted to destroy it. The guy who founded it, Brian Houston, his dad was a pedophile. And Brian Houston discovered this, or one of the victims came to Brian, and Brian, like, pretty much as soon as he found out, like, a guy who was 35-year-old man came and told him what happened. And he said, I don't want you to go to the police or make it public. And he's like, what? Like, that's insane. And Brian went on a public speaking tour throughout all the churches in Australia and Hillsong churches and was like, this is what happened. This is what my father did. I'm fucking disgusted and ashamed, and please go to the police. If anything's ever happened, we'll help you go to the police. So, like, the media pretty much went out and said, he didn't do any of that. He tried to hide it. But I know for a fact, our church, he came to our church, told us this story day one, and was completely honest. This was back in 2008. And so I was like, I know for a fact it was a lie that he was open and honest about what his father did. It has nothing to do with him. He's fucking disgusted in his dad. You know what I mean? Like, I think, obviously, if we were a Christian society, maybe if we look at time past where there was like Game of Thrones, the king would have the sword and he would chop the head. Some people need their head chopped off, right? Some justice needs to be served. I believe to have a just society, there is certain crimes that you just need to execute. Bang. That's justice. And, there should be a death penalty for that and for other crimes. But yeah, Christians, a lot of Christians are race blind. I went on a bit of a tangent there. When I became a Christian at this Pentecostal church, I was up to no good. Me and my mates were like joyriding cars and but pretty much my best mate, we joyrided his mum's car. Another mate, we joyrided my mate's dad's Datsun. We crashed it. We popped the tire. We went through this little joyriding our parents' cars when they're out of town or at work or whatever phase. Me and my mate joyrided his mum's car. And then the next night he did the same thing. He crashed the car, killed the passenger. My mate who would sell me pot, he dropped out of school, got an apprenticeship. He was bought a mad Tirana. One afternoon he sold us, a bag of weed. He drove off. He crashed his car, wrapped around a pole, killed himself. Had a mate I'd smoked pot with, became addicted to meth. He went and murdered someone. I had mates getting in fights and going to jail. So I changed schools, got invited to a new church, and got invited to church. I'd never been to church. I was an atheist, but it was very multiracial, to be honest. And guys who were mainly like young tradies, the young adults and youth leaders were like young tradies and like Indian dudes, Pacific Islanders, some Africans, mostly Aussies and white Kiwis and white South Africans and that. It was multiracial, but these dudes would go out of their way to help young Aussies lead by example, give them a positive role model, show them to have fun and stay out of trouble. So, I do believe, and for a long time, I think back then, that experience and that time in Australia, it was probably, I was in an environment where everyone was integrated into Christian and Australian culture, right? And it worked. And these guys, these people in these churches, that was a success story, right? That was successful. But outside of the Pentecostal Christian community in Australia, there's thousands of churches that are large and have great functioning communities, and they're like perfect bubbles of literally prosperity. They're like the prosperity gospel. It really is. There's prosperity there. There's hard work and good values, people getting married young and having kids. Like at our church, we went to church. We missed this Sunday, wasn't on because of the cyclone. That didn't happen. We went to church the other weekend. Like every single married couple's pregnant. Everyone. They're like, congratulations we're having a little girl. Like we're having number 3, but everyone's having another baby. That's just the way it is, because we've got it right. We're tuned into the tradition and the culture and the value structure is there. And turn on me power to my laptop. Yeah, it's all there and it's working. So I do believe, Christians are race blind in that bubble. And in that bubble, it can be fine. You know what I mean? And there's good, valued people of multi-racial groups. My church in the past, I've seen multiracial demographics in the church who are together, who are Christians, but they stick. We kind of Islanders will be together, Africans will be together, the white people, the Anglos are together. Like you might get South Africans who will be together, white Kiwis, and we sort of like segregating, but we're together. But we have the same values, we're attached into Christian culture. It works. It's awesome. I think the church is the answer. It truly is, I believe, the answer. You should get plugged in. You should go to church and find a wife, get married and have kids. You should get connected and you'll start winning in life. I believe it 100%. But outside of my perfect little bubble, you know, this is when I became more politically active and realized it was around the gay marriage vote. And I realized without the institution of marriage being fully respected, man and wife together raising children, that's what marriage is all about. I was like, we are gonna fail this country. This is not going to be good for our society. And that was when I left after 10 I stopped volunteering at a leadership capacity inside the local church, left youth ministry, young adults, kids church. Me and my missus would do this together for years. I was like, I need to get active, because I could see that was the beginning. If you look back and you go, what was the point when Australia really started to go, and it was the gay marriage, bang, and then they just fucking amped mass migration up and integration. They threw integration out. They threw this country being a proud Anglo-Celtic, British, Western nation, Christian nation, they threw that out and they went with multiculturalism and mass migration and faggotry. And, they planned it, they wanted to do it, and it didn't work. And that's when I was like, holy fuck, I care about Australia. I care about this country, and I became a bit more politically active. Now, I didn't really know how to do that. I joined the Proud Boys because they were the only group I could see at the time on Facebook. It was the only men's group that I could join. And we were politically active, and I joined the branch, and I'm like, this is what's happening. This is what we need to do. We want to go to campaign for vote no on the gay marriage. And the boys were on board for the most part. Some people in the chapter weren't. But we started getting active in protests and volunteering for political parties and One Nation. And even inside the chapter or that fraternity, it was still voluntary. Like if you wanted inside the group, go to a protest, if you believed in certain subjects or wanted to help a political party or whatever. So no one wasn't like a cult or nothing. Everyone was free to disagree and debate things out or not agree or whatever. But for the most part, 90% of people could see what I saw. And we went for it. And then that group got persecuted, deplatformed, and all this. And kind of probably had great success, built many chapters, a great amount of members, and probably got a bit comfortable. And that was the point where I said, I've got to move on, because I need to, as a Christian, I need to not be comfortable. I need to continue to look for ways that I can, as a dad, especially with 2, but with 3 on the way, I can guarantee you this: I'm going to be having less time to do things, but we need to continue to fight with a little bit of time and money that we can all spare to do something good. number one, get married and have kids. Number two, probably join a political party and go to branch meetings, vote and volunteer. But then there's also charities and there's also fraternities that we can be a part of. British Australian Community, Australian Nativist Association are both really good organisations. So they don't care if there's 1 million Indians coming in every year. I think we do. I believe we do. I think people in my church and the Christian community have fully woken up. Like, I think the church is probably, from what I can tell, in the Libertarian Party, One Nation, Family First, Liberal National Party, all the charities, all the churches, all the fraternities, it'll be Christians leading the charge. That's the honest truth. The people who are out there fighting against mass migration, multiculturalism, critical race theory, critical gender theory, all the bad Marxist left-wing ideas, the globalist ideas, I think it's the Christians. And you got to be honest with yourself. Wherever you go, do you find that it's Christians, people who are Christians that have a Christian conviction, that are the ones who are active, putting time and money and effort into this? I think it is. And if not, they should be. If they love this country and God, I think you can't love this country and God without being understanding. Like, it's not good to let I don't think I've ever met a bad Indian in my life. I work with Indians. My first youth leader was an Indian guy, right? So, but regardless, that does so cool. I don't hate Indian people, right? No one just because we don't want 1 million Indians coming in doesn't mean we hate you Indian guys. That's fine, but we don't want our country to become India. There's a reason why people are leaving India, and for some reason, and I don't think no one has an excuse. There's no excuse. You're not less of a person. Even if your IQ was lower, if they said, like, well, statistically, they have a lower IQ over there in India, we've got no excuse. Like, we've got smartphones now with GPT, and we can educate ourselves so quickly and work out what to do and how to fix things and how things work, and watch a YouTube tutorial on how to fucking build shit, fix things, make things work. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse for any country on the earth why you would have to leave any country. We should all be focusing on fixing our own countries. You can fix it. You should try to fix it. And if the whole world would become like successful nations, that'd be awesome. We could all visit each other's nations and go on holidays and enjoy be like, fucking, I would love to be like, I have no desire to go to India or to Africa or the Middle East or any of them. I've been to Europe and I've been to America. I've been to Thailand and like Newmere and on a cruise to Newmere and Vanuatu, and fucking, they were lovely people too. Evening chaps, free Tommy Robinson. Apparently he's in solitary confinement. For Tommy Robinson, he's a good bloke. He sounded the alarm. It's crazy that Tommy sounded the alarm years ago, and they deplatformed him and silenced him and rubbished him, treated him like shit, and we should have listened. I think we did listen. I think a lot of people, he helped woke him up. When I started interviewing people on the street, I was like, fuck yeah. Tommy was doing that, and he was a big inspiration. Wouldn't that church be better if it was just all white people? But yeah, like, I would have no problem with my church being all white people. That's fine. Like, I, in fact, I prefer to hang out with white people. Like, even though I'm saying my church is open to the public and everyone is welcome, it's a Christian church with Christian values, and Yeah, if it was all white people, that's all good. And I could go to an all-white church. That'd be fine. And in most of my friends, the only friends I have that are multiracial are like radical evangelizing Christians. My multiracial friends are like, I've got an Indian mate who's like preaching the gospel. So if I meet an African or any racial group who's like, Australia, you need to find Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit to empower you to break the sin of your life. I'm like, thanks for evangelizing my people. Because if we get, if we become Christian, and I believe we get spiritual empowerment, because I think we need spiritual empowerment to do the things we need to do to be extremely successful. I think it's hard. I think there's challenges in life's difficult, and it helps being spiritually empowered to find a woman and to get married and stay married and be a good husband and to work hard and look for economic opportunities and to stay motivated and to live healthy and not have like addictions in your life and look after your body. Like, so all these things we need to do well to be successful in life. We need to have a culture, a community, a tradition, spiritual empowerment, value structures, discipline. There's so much involved to be fruitful and to multiply. Like, if this is the number one goal, if this is the first thing mentioned in the Bible, be fruitful and multiply. Well, how do I do that? I think it's the biggest desire. It's the natural, instinctive desire that is hardwired into your genetics and your DNA. And if you're not doing it, you'll feel depressed and anxious. If you are doing it, you'll feel good. You'll feel like, oh, I'm on the right path. I'm on the right track. You'll follow your gut. If you follow your gut instinct, you'll know if you're on the right path. You know what I'm saying? You know where you're at. You know what's good. And you'll be like, yeah, I'm feeling all right. Like, you're sleeping all right. You're training all right. You're eating all right. You're not fully alcoholic or chain smoking or taking drugs. You've got a missus and you got a good sex life and all these things. And you're not a fucking angry asshole. And like I can be. We can all be these things, but whatever. But yeah, the church would be better. What I'm getting at, I appreciate someone from another country. They become a friend of mine, and I am grateful for them when they preach in the gospel, when they're here like on mission to save our people. Like, if it took the guys who invited me to church, well, Mexican, PNG, Aussie, 3 dudes. And then the youth leaders were like an Indian fella and his brother and a Maori fella and Aussie dudes. So it was like the whole process was a multiracial, but they were one culture and tradition, one way of doing things, one mindset. All of them consider themselves Australian. Essentially, I think so. I believe so, but we didn't have to think like that back then. Like, the world was a different place back then. You were just living your life and getting on with it. And there was none of this bullshit that I don't think Marxism or the weird Marxist ideas or the weird ideas that we see coming through had not found traction. Maybe they were a part of society, but once we got social media and it was in our face all the time, like, we started to, like, initially it was like our fucking first social media was like MySpace and shit, and it was like full on Southern Crosses and fucking true blue shit, man, because that's the way this country was. People loved it. It was fucking awesome. But yeah, these multiracial people from my church were fucking good dudes. They got me on track. It was so easy for me Me and my mates who made stupid decisions and ended up in an early grave or in prison or drug addicts or whatever they did. Do you know they were just normal blokes having a laugh and a good time and a fucking... That's all we were doing. We were just young dudes having a good time who didn't take long that a good time ended up into severe consequences that changed the direction of their lives. Luckily, like, I didn't make such hectic decisions, but I was there when people made decisions that affected their lives, and it seemed real easy to do that. You know what I mean? And I'm lucky that I made a choice, because I essentially got kicked out of school in year 10, and they're like, we don't want you back, mate. You had too many days off. And that year 10 certificate, they're like, have you got your year 10 certificate, mate? I was like, yeah. And they're like, we want that back off you because you had too many absentee days. And they said, you're not welcome back next year. And I just said, see you later, buddy. And I just fucking went for the door and I never returned. So I took that, you know, and I went to a different school where I met a better... I was just lucky that there were some good dudes there who were going to a good youth group that was fun, and there was good youth leaders there who were good blokes who were just having a freaking genuinely good people, having a good time, and got me, and I put myself in an environment where I could win, in life. And that's what I think that's what me and my mates were all trying to do. We thought we were trying to win in life. So I was just trying to position wise enough to see that what wasn't working and what was working. It was easy. I think active clubs fill the same role these days. And that's true. Like, I think that would be true because we're living in a time. Look, Gavin McGuinness, when he started the Proud Boys, he said, he was like, we need to bring men's clubs back, right? We need to bring men's clubs back. And he created his fraternity. And that fraternity is rolling around with like 150 chapters around the world. And I think there needs to be heaps of different clubs, different men's groups, different fraternities, active clubs, whatever we call them, whatever they are, which are essentially operating like a church. They're doing a similar thing. I think the church is offering something more. Like Jesus is offering a spiritual. So I think, like, look at the West and you say, like, why the fuck are people adopting these Marxist ideas for one? Because I think, like, we had a culture and a tradition and a heritage of Christian values that said there was even forgiveness. So there was a mechanism and a way to deal with mistakes made of the past or whatever. And it was like through forgiveness, repentance. And then you're like, it's done. You move on. And then you've got, you know, the Great Commission. You're on mission to evangelize, to make disciples, and to build the church, and to follow the natural order and progression of life of marriage, children, making an honest living, providing for yourself, and beyond that, giving back to your community financially or through giving your time and your whatever ability you've got. So the Marxists, I think, if we go back to the start there, without that core mechanism of forgiveness, what they do is they have like a guilt they're being manipulated by the sociology department of the Frankfurt Institute, like they are a new branch of communism or Marxism, and it is built by the sociology department. They know the psychology of how the mind works, and they going after, and it's like through understanding that there is a guilt. It's not like, so there's a common, people feel regret through our consciousness and our thought process, and we go, oh, should have done better there. That was wrong. they go, that was wrong, that was stupid, and then they can see it in other things. So how do you deal with that? Now, Christianity has a mechanism to deal with that and a way to deal with that in a healthy, responsible way. You can move on with your life and be productive. Through Marxism, they weaponize guilt and shame to manipulate people like a cult to push them in towards, say, critical race theory, critical gender theory, where they're pushing unnatural, even multiculturalism, feminism, all these ideas, which are Marxist ideas, are sociology ideas. They are, it's to, gain the means of production culturally to manipulate people. So essentially they can gain control. You know what I mean? So we've got welcome to countries, and we've got fucking kids wearing rainbow fucking lanyards working at Coles and whatever, fucking virtue signaling some weird bullshit because they've been manipulated into guilt, or they've been manipulated through guilt or shame or yeah, and it's like they've fucking planned that. They're just using common psychology and trying to fulfill a void. Like they used atheism and they tried to push an atheist agenda, because if we look statistically, 85% of left-wing voters will be atheists, right? So they tend to, atheists will tend to go towards Marxist ideas, communist ideas. So it's in that interest, if you're a part of the Soviet Union or China or Russia or North Korea, whatever, we had a Cold War. I think they were like, well, we should push atheism. We should push. In Germany, the Marxists built the Frankfurt Institute, which is a university where they created all these ideas of critical theory, critical race theory, critical gender theory, all that. It's coming through the atheist philosophy. I was an atheist. That's what I believed before while I was fucking up to no good, fucking around, just having a good time with me mates. Let's be honest. And I thought I was highly evolved pond scum, and I thought there was no objective moral reality to life. There was no real purpose to life, and people could come along. I think people like empty vessels at that point of atheism. Why did I become an atheist? Well, they were teaching it at school. Essentially, they taught it at school. It was the textbook idea. I would listen to. Even when I got invited to church, I was listening to debates and Dawkins and all that stuff. I was into that stuff. I remember, like, at school debating people in fucking primary school about atheism. I thought it was the shit, you know what I mean? I was like, I was so arrogant. I was a fucking retard. We don't know shit. I don't think we know anything. I don't think they have the answers. I think it's total failure. But it's left our civilization and culture open to absolute manipulation. And the young left-wing kids have been fucking. They have their natural inclinations to probably deal with certain things. They have no proper mechanism to deal with guilt or shame or repentance or forgiveness. So the philosophy of Marxism comes in, swoops in, and fucking manipulates them and pulls them into the death cult, essentially. But active clubs can fulfill, like the Proud Boys, like other groups can fulfill. I think even the church needs to probably take a branch from the active clubs, and maybe the active clubs could adopt some Christianity in there, which would be the gospel of Jesus Christ, that you could have. That is there a way to salvation? Is there a way to salvation? bang, what's on offer is that it's actually like a gift. Salvation is a gift, but with that gift comes spiritual empowerment. So then we do change for the better, one way or another, whether we like it or not. It happens. And I would say it's very healthy for our mind to, like a submarine, like this submarine that is going through the ocean, and it comes across another submarine, and they're like at war, and they go, "Ooh, another submarine on the radar," and you shut down 50% of the features of the submarine, and you go into kill mode, right? We can activate the true purposes of our lives when, in a scenario, I'd say like Christianity comes along and we go, we've taken care of all this shit. It's all taken care of, right? It's up on offer. There's salvation. There's hope beyond the grave. There's forgiveness. There's repentance. There's a community. So we've got all this stuff taken care of. Now you can get on with business, right? It's like when you meet a woman and you fall in love and you get married. Well, that's it. You've locked it down, sunshine. You've locked it down. You don't have to look at another woman. You don't have to fucking be friends with another woman. You just have to just be polite. And yeah, how you going? Like, be polite, but you're fucking done. You can shut that shit down in your life, and you can get on with the mission of providing and having children and enjoying your life. And like, without these mechanisms being fulfilled, I think there will be negative consequences. That's 100% for the active clubs, for the Proud Boys, for most fraternities. And it might be a simple thing that you just put a chaplain in your chapter, like whatever the fraternity is, whatever the organization is, just make a role for a chaplain in there. And then I'd say that would help. And that's what the Proud Boys would do. And that was a good move. But it's kind of like probably none of my business to talk about that, though it's relevant to my life for a long period of time. And they were great dudes. Get along with them. I believe in what. So the idea of active clubs would probably be a new concept where then you go back to an era where is there fraternities, which the Proud Boys would be a fraternity. There might be a more real modern version of that, which would be an active club, and then fraternities and like men's clubs. But I think Gavin was right. Like, Gavin is this dude who created Vice Media and the Proud Boys, but he said we need to bring back men's clubs. And for the most part, that's what I think. He said it back then. He said, I believe there's going to be a lot more. He said, like, there's going to be a lot more networks where people have paywalls, and people are going to pay to behind paywalls to access content to, like, because of freedom of speech issues and all this shit. So that people will create like a fucking environment where you want to fucking comedy shows, here they all are. You know what I mean? You want to. He was right. I think he said years ago there'll be more fucking paywalls, there'll be more men's clubs, and this is the future I see. And he said it. He says some shit that reigns to be true. And it's true. And we probably do need to have more men's clubs. I'm still interested in men's clubs. Collectivism works, and Marxists were collectivists while normal people were operating as individuals. It's true. And I think as individuals, people will be way more successful than Marxists. Marxists are like collectivist losers who can't, as individuals, they fucking suck. You look at them and they stink. They're ugly and fucking have no style. They're retards. But individualism, to the point that we've probably seen it now, is also failing. And that's why I do think, we need to be in community churches, active clubs, fraternities, men's clubs. Mate, I found the real Australian within Australia. It's a place called Warwick in Western Queensland. This place is a foreign country compared to Melbourne and Sydney. Yeah. There you go, mate. We're all moving to fucking Warwick. That'd be sick. I've gone out like hunting on a few farms, and every farm is like, so when he is buying a farm. And it can be like you go out to a country town or one of these farms, and then often if we go out hunting, there'll be like a not far from where we're hunting will be a country town. We might stop in for a schooner, you know what I mean? And you're like, you can see that these places are freaking awesome, you know. I've only drank one beer. I've only drank half of one beer and it's gone warm. It's fucking disgusting now. Right, I'm going to wrap this stream up. It's 9:30. Last 2 weekends we went and did like a crazy amount of fucking. We went for like 2 or 3 hours. Went on for ages. And I thought that's fucking unsustainable. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, Rumble. It's been a while. We've got 3 people. I think we had like 5 people at the most tuning in on Rumble. So now Restream's working. So we will be streaming on Rumble more. It makes me want to stream more actually, because we're on YouTube and Rumble and X and YouTube. I could almost just like stop streaming to YouTube and keep it as an archive because I've been censored so much. So I'm so freaking glad that Rumble's working. I'm so glad that freaking X is good. Loving it. We've got freedom of speech is on the rise and the vibe shift is happening. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, tonight. I think we need to we talked about some good subjects. Lent's going good for me. Like I said, Sundays I'm having a beer. I'm following the Catholic way of doing Lent this year, which is Sunday's celebration, so I can break my fast, but I won't be drinking or smoking, eating fast food or junk food during the week. And Sunday I'm breaking my fast, and it's been working really good for me. It's probably made me realize like I don't smoke and drink that much, and I don't eat fast food that much, but it is like strangely satisfying and almost like there's something addictive in all of them things that could be potentially dangerous. So it's good to do Lent and then be like, yeah, I'm motivated to stay away from crap 6 days of the week until Easter. And I'm going to start training as soon as this rain stops and I can get everything out of my shed again. I'll be in the gym. And I think everyone should give Lent a go. Gavin McGuinness, I first heard him talk about Lent, and he said he reckons he only drinks beer during Lent because he's a full-on alcoholic. He only drinks, and I thought that's ridiculous, and it's funny, and I'll give it a go. And I started doing Lent, and 4 years ago, I now do it every year, and every year this year I'm not pushing it as hard because I'm working 2 jobs, and I've got 2 boys and a third on the way, and it's a busy time. So I was like, I need to be a bit more balanced this time. Mate, it's honestly amazing seeing every house in town sitting on 1,000 square meter block, wide street, plenty of land, plenty of water, abundance and freedom. It'd be fucking sick. We should go. I'm keen to go out to Warwick for a look. You should send me some house prices. We should all chip in. Like, I swear, we should all be like 10 grand each and get fucking 30 blokes, 10 grand each, or 50 blokes, and buy a farm so we can all go out and hunt on and go camping on. Close enough to a country town so we can all go into the pub for beers. That'd be fucking sick. Sign me up. Cheers, Australia Talks. Thanks, everyone who tuned in. God bless yous. Catch you next Sunday. We'll do a regular stream. I think we start a bit late, so next week I'll start at 8:30 because I'm 8 o'clock. I couldn't pull it off. 8:30 will be the regular stream, and we'll try and go for an hour. God